Thanks, everybody. It's good to be here with everyone, and hope we're able to learn something from us. I brought Andrew because I'm 56 years old, and the club does not want me tweeting. So I don't, but I saw the need for it. So I'm going to run you through a few slides here of who we are, what our club is, how we're made up, so you can get the breadth of size that we are. And then just talk to you about how we communicate, because I think we have the same challenges that you all do. We may have 1,855 swimmers, but we have 10 sites. So we'll go through that, and then hopefully we'll have time for questions. So, Nation's Capital Swim Club. We have 1,855 registered swimmers. Then we have another 800 developmental that just really practice once a week, usually on the weekends at our sites that we rent time for. They're non-USAS members, and they're sort of our feeder program to get into competitive swimming. We use 16 different facilities, none of which we own. We rent everything. 28 full-time coaches, 55 part-time coaches. We have one location that has a swim school down at American University. It's got a purpose-built pool, 20 yards long, 3 lanes wide, kept at 86 degrees. So we run a swim school there, an hour and a half a day, while we're having practice for the competitive team, and I use the students at American University as our instructors. So we have a built-in instructor base there. Good for them. There are 5 of the locations make up those 800 that have the developmental programs. We don't have it at every site. I'm one of the owners. I have 2 others who were original coaches 34 years ago, Pete Morgan and Jeff King. They have some financial responsibility for some of the sites that they coach at, and then I have the balance. So here's a look at a coaching staff, the different sites we have, and when I'm going to talk about how we communicate, it's really, I look at it as a decentralized model. Not everything comes from me or my assistant. I push it down to the head site coaches because every site is different. Their training schedule is different, how many coaches they have, who's working with what groups. So we have all these sites, but we're made up of, we're one team and we have a lot of different sites. So I got to push it down to them, make them responsible for the communication with their parents and their families, and they'll get emails from me also. Each site has a head coach. They vary in size from 110 to 350 swimmers. The programming is dictated by the pool availability. All the sites are what we call vertically integrated, where we go from 8 and unders, our minis, all the way up to seniors, so that we can feed the whole program. A couple of the sites are really, really close together. AU and Holton are within 3 miles. We only have age group at Holton, and all those kids feed into AU for the senior program. Some of them will disperse over to Georgetown Prep because that's the other way, only about 4 miles away. So, as I said, we have an integrated approach. We have a monthly staff meeting with our full-time coaches, and those are really the head site coaches that are pushing down to the assistants what they need to be doing. We have priority team meets, 1 per quarter, where all the sites should be going to those meets. We don't dictate by site that they have to go to all these meets, whether they're open. We're in Potomac Valley Swimming, so we have approximately 12,000 competitive athletes in a very small geographical area, so our open meets are very crowded. We're working as an LSC to try to figure out different ways to compete, whether it being dual meets, sanctioning dual meets between teams, so we do a couple events and not have the kids and the parents there for 4 hours at a block. We do some team training together, especially at the senior level, so that these sites, the kids all get to know each other. We just got back from NCSAs where we took 92 athletes from all the different sites together. So they room together, they get to know each other, especially at that sophomore, junior, and senior high school level. They're all friends. They communicate back and forth with each other, and they go to meets. We go down to Nova, swim a dual meet with Nova first off, and then do something in December at our meet, and then NCSAs is a big meet, and then NCSA Summers is another big meet. So we try to keep them together and get them to, being so big, we got to make sure we keep that team atmosphere of the entire team, but let them be individuals. So as you all look at it, if you're a team of 120, hopefully what we'll tell you about what we do at that site, and Andrew can fill you in on how we handle Twitter, is make them feel like they're part of the team. So 3 questions that Matt and Pat and I talked about might help see what we do. What do we communicate? Why do we communicate it? And when do we communicate it? So I'll try to hit on those 3. What do we communicate? There are 2 levels of communication. Administratively, from the main office, where I have an assistant that we work on registration, on meet entries, on volunteerism. We'll communicate a lot of that. I send out a end-of-the-year letter. I send it out in December where we talk about everything that the club accomplished, from age group swimming, from senior swimming, from volunteers to officials, and thanking everybody for what they do. And then at the individual site level, where I put the onus on the head site coaches to make sure that they're communicating with their group what's going on, whether that be social events, whether it be a change in practice schedule, anything that pertains just to that specific site. Andrew trains as his father at Georgetown Prep. So what they do is totally different from what Claude Moore over in Virginia does. So Bruce is responsible for making sure that those athletes and parents know what they're doing. Robbie Robbins is responsible for making sure that his coaches communicate with all those families, and they're not connected. From here, as I said, administratively, beginning of year plans. When we start off the season, thanking them all for being part of the team, what they need to do, what we need to do as far as volunteerism, officials, what the kids' responsibilities are when we're at these sites that we do not own. We're guests there. We try to make sure that they understand that they are guests and they are to treat people with respect. Outfitting information, code of conduct, end-of-year results, volunteering, and just general thank yous for everything they do. As big a team as we are, we have a lot of parents, and we're lucky in that we have probably on our officials list, there are 10 or 15 officials that kids graduated 10 years ago, and they're still involved with helping us run meets, and it's great to see. At the site level, individual group plans, social events, meet sign-up, weekly practice updates, meet results, nutrition ideas, things that we can help the athletes and the parents understand what they need to be doing on an everyday basis when they're training. How do we use social media? So I realized probably 3 or 4 years ago when my daughter, who's now 23, was in college, and I'd call her on the phone and wouldn't get an answer. Hey, call me. I figured the only way I could do it is I had to text her. So these kids don't use phones. They communicate very differently than I know I do, and probably a lot of you in the room do. So we had to start a plan to put together some type of social media concept. Luckily, I have a lot of 20-somethings that work for me. When Andrew graduated from the University of Georgia and came back to train with us, a light bulb went off in my head and said, he probably knows how to do this stuff. So I went to him and said, okay, I want you in charge of our Twitter. He said, okay. So I put together a couple other young coaches, and I said, you're going to flow everything that goes on and that you think is important through Andrew. He's going to put it up, because I didn't want 4 or 5 people putting stuff up on Twitter. I couldn't control it. As big as we are, I don't know who's responsible. At least now I got one guy I can go to and say, why is that up there? Or put this up. So everything funnels on Twitter through Andrew, Dory Halby, who's a coach for us, Jessica Fry, who's a coach for us. They do some work for Swimming World in retweeting stuff. So everything goes through Andrew, and we just put it up. And it's not all about Katie Ledecky, not all about Andrew Selskar. It's about the 10 and under that just did something special at school and got recognized for it. It's about a young little girl that has diabetes and met Gary Hall Jr. In Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago, and we talk about that. It's about accomplishments outside of the pool as well as inside of the pool. That way, my feeling is we can get them connected to us as a community, and that people know who Nation's Capital Swimming is. Facebook is just informational stuff. Something comes up, Dory manages that. I didn't even know we had one until about a month ago, and I clicked on it on our Team Unify. She says, yeah, I do that. So she just throws stuff up there, keep everybody involved, what they're doing. And then the website is where we try to drive everybody to first, and then they can get to everything else. Richard Rosenthal, who is one of our coaches, and his wife took a job with Vanderbilt, stopped coaching, is now in Nashville, Tennessee. He still wanted to be involved with our club. So I have him just work the website, put stuff up, put results up, put new news up, put new pictures up. And that drives everybody to the website first if they want information, and then they can drill down. You can go on our website, www.nationscapitalswimming.com, and we use Team Unify. So, but the website is separate from Team Unify, but if you click on a site, it will drive you to that Team Unify site. So that's how we try to work what we do there. Why we communicate. It reduces the questions that a coach is going to get before and after practice. A lot of our coaches are good at it. Other ones are terrible at it. They don't want to get in front of the parent. A lot of them are young. We haven't gotten them to the point that they feel comfortable talking to the parent. So we work with them on that. And you're the expert in swimming. Don't be afraid to tell the parent what's going on. It bonds the site closer together. Parents and swimmers feel connected to what is going on around them at that site. And that comes from the site-specific emails and communications. The Twitter that Andrew does is general. It may mention a site, and you can ask him questions on what he does, but we try to keep it as general as possible. Even though we're a very large team, we try to make each site autonomous in some respects. When you're at Tyson's corner location has 230 swimmers, we want them all to feel connected because they see each other every day, especially the 12 and unders. Now, they'll run into other kids at a meet, but again, they may not go to the same open meet that Georgetown Prep does. So we try to keep it as autonomous as we can. When do we communicate? As often as it makes sense. We don't do it too much, and we don't do it too little. If something is important that I feel needs to be communicated, it will go out, club-wide. Again, we use, and there are many platforms you can use out there, but I've found it very easy with Team Unify that we can set up all of our training groups, and I can send out an email to every group that's out there, and everybody gets it. Or Bruce can send out an email just to his Gold 1 group or to the entire Georgetown Prep. So it makes it easy for us to communicate when it needs to be done. At the site level, I like to see them do it once or twice a week. Just updates on what's going on, what's going to happen next week, what meets we got coming up, a shout out to a kid that had a good week at practice. So the coaches, I rely on the coaches to do a lot of what they feel is pertinent to what their group is doing. And that's about all I have to say about what we do in Twitter. I wanted to bring Andrew up here so you can understand how we really do it in making sure we're keeping all these kids connected. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them.
I can just talk a little bit about what
Yeah,
I said. Tom came to me in about October, November of last year and said, hey, we need to get on board with Twitter. And I said, I agree. I think Matt's probably talked. Twitter is such a huge vehicle for social media, and as a site as big as NCAP, we didn't have one. And so I got together with Tom, and I talked with some of our younger coaches, and we sort of developed a platform for what we wanted to do. And my big thing, and I'm sure many of you noticed, is how well-rounded many swimmers are within the community, within school. And so I thought Twitter would be a great vehicle to sort of express sort of the successes of the team, not just as athletes, but as students and members of the community. And so I try and do that. I try and stay in contact with a lot of the coaches as far as what their athletes are doing. We've had people who have gone to all sorts of events in DC, pretty well-rounded events, going up to the UN as part of events. Try and push that out, try and make people recognize that, hey, swimming is a sport that develops these sort of kids, really. And so I know when we're looking at, we have 1,800 people, and so there's people coming in, it's a big club, we want more people to look into it as a possible site. And what do? You Google it. And so you get the web page, you get Facebook, you get Twitter. And so we use Twitter as sort of another avenue to promote the team, promote all the good things we are doing. And that doesn't, like Tom said, it doesn't involve just Katie, and Katie does a bunch of great things. But for instance, we've got a bunch of kids going laser tag tonight. We got 2 or 3 kids that ran out a laser tag thing. They had their big spring meet. The 12, I think it's mostly 8 to 12-year-olds. They had their big spring meet last weekend. And there's 2 or 3 sites going to laser tag, and that's going to be a blast. And we want, hey, swimming isn't just about going to these meets, but you build friendships, you build communities, and you really get involved. And so we try and push out those type of things as well. I've talked to the assistant coaches. They're going to take up a couple pictures from me, send them in to me. I'll post them online, and it's showing another one of the great things we do as a team. So really, that's what we're looking for Twitter, is promote all aspects of the team. Like Tom said, Tom actually he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's got a better grip on it than he thinks he does. So all aspects of the team, from the fast swimming at the senior level, like you said, we had 90 plus kids at NCSAs. They swam lights out. They won a big meet like that. That's great. We also have other great things. We've got kids participating in model UNs. We've got awesome laser tag parties where we rent out a whole place and we can send 100 kids there and they'll have a great time. So I really want to capture the whole aspect of the team, what it gets involved in swimming, not just the times or whatever.